Hampshire. Nice hat. Isn't that a beauty?
So if one of you guys can let me know when we're on. We're on. No, that one.
Okay.
Look directly into the camera.
Good evening and welcome to the March 14th, 2013 Conservation Commission meeting. Meeting is called to order at 7:11 p.m. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Becky LaPence, our recording secretary, was not able to make it to the meeting tonight due to some other commitments. As such, I would like to ask all the commission members to try and speak loudly and clearly when they do, because Becky will be viewing this recording in order to be able to make the minutes for us, and that will make it a little easier for her. I'd also like to mention that George Hilton called last week saying that he would be unable to make it to this evening's meeting, so George is excused. And if we could do the roll call, just starting down there with you, Bob, so just say your name and present, and then...
Bob Gazda.
Thank you.
Janice Rosa, present.
Fred Pearson, present.
Bruce Facto, present.
Drew Kiefaber, present.
Jeff Goldnoff, present.
Jessica Vasey-Powell, present.
Stephanie Coster, present.
Dan Wright, present.
Thank you, one and all. Next item is public comments. There's no members of the public here, so that makes that easy. Next item is approval of minutes from the February 14th, 2013 meeting. Anyone have any? I know the minutes were, Becky sent them out via email a while ago. Does anyone have any changes, corrections, etc.?
I did have one change. There was a point at which I had recused myself from at 2 points during the same discussion, and it was only mentioned in one of them. And I don't have the minutes in front of me. And if it could just be added to the minutes that I was recused at the beginning of the discussion of the Moody Point project, and then again recused for the non-public portion of that discussion.
Thank you. So just send those corrections to Becky, please.
Okay.
Any other suggestions, changes, corrections? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as revised.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to make that motion that we accept minutes as revised.
Thank you, Bruce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Fred. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I abstain because I wasn't here.
Thank you, Janice. All right, that takes care of our approval of minutes. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, since George is not here this evening, I'd like to appoint Jessica as our voting member for this evening's meeting. Takes care of that one. Next up is the treasurer's report.
I didn't see anything different on this one. The question last month about the $600, approximately $600 amount. It was indeed it's a due to from transfer. So quarterly, our bills get paid out of one fund, the town's funds, and then quarterly they transfer money from our fund to cover those bills, or either way, quarterly. So that's all that was. And I sent out an email saying, if you go back far enough, you can see exactly what that was for. But I don't know that we need to cover that. It was, I believe, part of it was for Faye's Boatyard, and part might have been for past monies that were owed to the Pearsons for things they had done at the various places around town. So that's what that was. And we can get those. If people would like to see those, I can get those quarterly. The actual receipt of the transfer, so that we can see what it is, but we haven't gotten them in the past. And if anyone has any questions about this month, I would be more than happy to look into anything.
I think it would be good if we get that report.
Okay. Sounds
I
good.
don't know how other folks feel.
It's pretty simple. They just, they can scan it and email it,
Yep,
and I'll pass it along just like I passed that one along.
super.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
Committee and subcommittee reports. Janice, anything from the planning board?
Well, I was not here for the whole month of February, so probably shouldn't say too much since I wasn't at the
Okay,
meetings.
sure.
I know what what I've seen on TV or heard. I do know that the rezoning, the suggested changes for the zoning has been tabled at the council level, and Dan can probably fill you in more on that.
speak on that, yeah.
I do know that much. I do know 13 Water Street has passed. I don't know when it's going to stop, but that has been approved.
Okay.
And I know it's coming up at our meeting, and there's some landscape regulations for the public's review, because further down the road, there'll be a public hearing for when developers come in. It's not for the average homeowner. It's when a developer comes through, a subdivision comes through, there's going to be some landscape regulations put in place. And I do know that on the agenda is Walter Cheney's coming on Tuesday night for, I believe, a approval for the conceptual plan for a subdivision. And I know also on that would be Chimberg is on that agenda for a oh, you have it in front of you?
Yeah,
The
just
planning
fast.
board? Okay.
Just fast.
That's a different, altogether different piece, so not.
Chimberg?
together.
Oh, Chimberg's is his own property, which is across the street, the Riverdale building area, for an application for a site plan for, under consideration by the, okay, that's the site plan. It doesn't just go down to what it's for. It's for the proposals to convert the vacant former Riverdale automotive structure into an eatery with an attached specialty retail store. And he's coming in for a public hearing for an application for a major site plan at Main Street. And that is to construct a single-story, 9,600 square foot commercial building near Spring Street at the west end of the Newmarket Mills parking lot. That structure will house various businesses, including a small grocery, restaurant, and retail shops. And that is, right now, there's the zoning, the proposed zoning amendments to change the zoning from the B1 to the M2 which is under consideration still through the town council. So, but he's on they're on the agenda. And then the update, the existing land use chapter of the master plan, we're going to have a representation, and Cheney is coming in for an application for design review for a subdivision requested at Cushing Road. And then it's the proposed landscape regulations, which is just going to be a discussion at this time. So that's what's coming up.
Okay.
Landscaping.
Great. We, the Conservation Commission, received a letter. It's dated March 8th. I picked it up out of the mailbox a couple days ago. It relates to 13 Water Street. It is from the Department of Environmental Services to AEC Group. Attention Tim Nichols, related to the wetlands permit for 13 Water Street. And we were copied on it. The gist of it is that the Wetlands Bureau had requested additional information relative to the above referenced application. The information was not received within 60 days of the request, and therefore DES shall deny the project. So
I haven't seen it.
I understand.
yeah.
I mean, I think I literally picked this up 2 days ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, at least relative to that project, it may have been approved by the planning board, but it hasn't been approved by DES yet, for what that's worth. I have not scanned this letter and sent it out to everyone. Would people like to? I'm happy to do it if they would like it.
I mean, I would like to see it anyway. I'm just curious. You don't have to scan it necessarily.
I'm
Fair
sure
enough.
Diane's got it, and she'll send, she's.
Yeah, Diane's got a copy as
It'll be
well.
out to the
Yeah.
planning board members.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Nice, that takes that off of there. Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dan, anything from town council?
Yeah, I would just like to say and thank everyone, especially the voters, for passing the water treatment plant and the McIntosh well, and also for the Conservation Committee for holding that little information session. I thought that was a big help. And I think it's one of the first times where the town council has actually gone out and tried to educate the people, inform the people of how important these two warrant articles were. And I think it was overwhelmingly, I think, close to 1,000 to 200 votes for. And I think it was very surprising to get that much support. People realize how important the bay is.
Yep.
And also how precious our water is in town. And Janice was saying about the zoning changes. The town council had a few questions, and what we did, we wrote a bunch of questions down, our concerns about changing from the B1 to the M2, and we submitted those questions to Steve Fournier, and he's going to be asking for, I believe, a consultant to look at some of these questions and to get answers before we proceed on that.
Okay, great,
And that's it.
very good. Yeah, I would like to also say I'm pleased that the voters passed both the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and the McIntosh well. I think both of those are water-related issues in town that we as a community are moving forward on, and I was also glad to see the overwhelming support for those.
Jeff, can I see that?
Anything from any of the subcommittees?
The dam feasibility study committee has chosen a company to start the feasibility study.
Nice.
And I think that I'm not sure exactly what it is, if they've written up the contracts yet, but they were in that process.
Great. Good. Do we know how long that process is expected to take approximately? or-
About a year.
Okay.
And I think that the idea would be they could start pretty soon, so.
Okay, great.
And there's gonna be meetings all the way through. I think there's at least 4, so I can let you know when those things come up and what the progress is.
Yeah, that would be great. If nothing else, we can help advertise those meetings through our meetings. Hopefully continue to get community input. Great, thank you, Stephanie. Okay. I think that's it. Well, this is rolling along faster than I expected. Okay, chairman's report.
When there's not 30 people in.
Well, this is where it's going to slow down.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so chairman's report. The first item that I had on there was Moody Point, lot 3613. At our last meeting, there was a fair amount of discussion related to that, and sort of the end result was that Mr. Cheney had agreed to meet with some town employees as well as members of the Moody Point Community Association, and I was invited to the meeting and attended as well. At that meeting, Mr. Cheney again sort of proposed development of 6 lots along Cushing Road, which is what Janice had spoken to regarding the planning board on their next meeting. There is discussions associated with that. Another meeting was scheduled approximately 2 weeks after that. That one was kind of during standard working hours, so I was unable to attend that meeting. My understanding was that meeting did not have the level of success or agreement that the first meeting had. So my understanding at this point is Mr. Cheney is going before the planning board to pursue subdivision of Moody Point Lot 36-13 with the hope or goal or intention of developing some lots along that portion of Cushing Road. I think, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, there is still an ongoing lawsuit between the town and Mr. Cheney as to whether or not that lot should already have some level of conservation, some level of legal conservation associated with it. So, so only time will tell where that all ends up.
In those meetings, Drew, Mr. Cheney was still talking about conserving the salt marsh portion of lots of...
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So I do not anticipate a rapid resolution to the Moody Point Lot 3613 question. I've said before, and I'll say it one more time, in my ideal world, I'd like to see the whole lot conserved, and if the Conservation Commission can do something to help facilitate that, I'm willing to try and help make that happen. So, but there's enough other things going on that I don't want to wade into all that. Not the right time as far as I'm concerned. Okay, next item, New Hampshire Fish and Game turtle surveys. We received an email. Oh, shoot, let me back up. One more thing relative to Moody Point Lot 3613. I received an email from Ellen Snyder as it related to public access or potential public access on Lot 3613. I believe I forwarded that email to all of the Conservation Commission members. In summary, Ellen's recommendation based on wildlife habitat is that the vast majority of that lot should remain undeveloped and not have public access. So that's the last part there. Sorry for the detour. Okay, back to the turtle surveys.
Can I
So-
ask you one question?
Absolutely.
Is that a question you would like me to bring, not a question, that comment from Ellen to bring forward to the planning board meeting on Tuesday night? She'll probably be there, but I'm just wondering, since we're at the Conservation Committee, and that may be something if he hasn't heard before, he may want to hear.
Maybe only if the question of public access comes up, because when he was here, he was opposed to the idea of public access himself for the reasons that she stated as well. I think so. So I think those two are in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then,
I think that also, I'm not sure, I don't know if we want it to come from the Conservation Commission. Like, we don't want it to be that the Conservation Commission thinks there should be no access. It should be that Ellen Snyder, the wildlife, person who's done wildlife surveys on that, thinks that there should be no public access.
I just crossed
Yeah.
it all off.
Fair
We
enough.
don't need to get him.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Stephanie's point is a good one, that if it comes up, it should be as,
What
it's Ellen's
thing?
position or whatever. Okay. Back to the turtle surveys. So we received an email from two folks at the New Hampshire Fish and Game requesting permission to trap turtles on town-owned properties. The traps are set such that, we just capture the turtles, and then they, weigh them, check them out, and release them. The idea is to try and get a better idea of how many turtles are where, because you can't, they're not always easy to spot, particularly some species of turtles. And the main turtle they're looking for is Blanding's turtles. Blanding's turtles have been located on the Wigan farm in the past, and that was one of the areas that they were interested in trying to trap turtles. So I sent that information out to everyone on the commission. I sent out a suggested reply. So I wrote back to New Hampshire Fish and Game granting them permission to do turtle surveys on town-owned properties. And in summary, it says, in addition to surveying the Tuttle Swamp area, including Wigan Farm, I would suggest New Hampshire Fish and Game consider surveying the Piscassic River Loiselle property and or the nearby Follett's Brook properties. And another possibility would be the Leda Lane wetland complex. And I also said they should contact Nature Conservancy for Nature Conservancy-owned lands in Durham and Newmarket as well. And then I did hear back saying basically thank you, and we'll let you know what we find, based on their trap results.
Just a comment for what it's worth. I think it was about 2 years ago, there was a Blandings turtle was crossing Bay Road at the Crummets Creek, crossing there at the lower portion. And it was a huge turtle. And I had no idea what it was to get out, and it was a Blandings turtle.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sort of, for those who aren't familiar with them, they're very tall.
Yeah.
Most turtles are relatively flat. Their shell is very, very curved and very high.
Almost like a helmet.
Dark. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a helmet. Very interesting.
I would say that's valuable information, because I did reply to that as well, personally, because I've found spotted turtles on my property, and I know the two can cohabitate in places. And so I offered to Fish and Game to come onto my property if they'd like to. And the response was very positive. If they have time, they have specific target areas that they set up for the season. So they might not be able to get to it, but they appreciate the offer. But I know that they would probably be interested in information like that.
Who should I contact?
I would reply to the folks.
Region 3 or?
No, there was a Valier or something.
Yeah, Lauren Valier.
Yeah, Lauren is who replied to me.
Send me an email, Fred, and I will send the message to you again.
Okay.
Do they tag, like, put a metal band on the turtles?
I think they usually notch the shell as a
then
way
how-
to ID them. And I don't know when they track them, they might glue the radio transmitters to the shell, I think is what
Really?
happens.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an endangered species?
It's a state listed species.
Yeah, state listed.
The state made it.
GSP on them.
State made it an endangered species?
I don't think it's I don't know if it's endangered,
it's
but it's either
endangered.
threatened or special concern.
It's
Yeah.
threatened, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
right.
spotted turtles are a species of special concern, and Blandings are one notch above
Yeah,
that.
I think so.
I don't know if that's endangered or not.
I didn't realize spotted turtles are?
Yeah.
Because they're fairly common on my place.
Not sun turtle. They're like
Not painted.
dark shell with like little yellow dots.
Oh,
Tiny
okay.
little yellow dots. I reported that. There's if you go to the Fish and Game website, there's a place to report sightings of listed or endangered animals.
Mhm.
And so I did file a report through that at the time. Last year I did, so you can always file one for. I had a picture, so I submitted the picture with it. So I was trying to lay eggs in my yard. So.
But I think Blandings are, they have I believe, this is what I remember, that they have a relatively small range overall, globally, and that they're not particularly common within that range. So, whereas spotted turtles have a larger geographic range, and at least in some areas, perhaps not in New Hampshire, but in other areas of their range, they can be more common.
So they're globally listed, perhaps?
I don't think they're globally listed yet, but I do know that, I think if their populations were to take a downturn, that they would be more at risk because they're just not as widespread globally. My recollection. Don't quote me on it.
That sounds right. Okay, anything else on the turtle surveys? Hearing none, the next item is reconstruction of a building or two at 8 Bay Road. There have been a flurry of emails that I've sent out related to this one. So this started with Chris Hawkins, the chairman of the Zoning Board of Adjustments, sent us an email to say that this reconstruction project at 8 Bay Road would be on the ZBA agenda for their April 8th meeting, and he was curious if the Conservation Commission had any input relative to the ZBA ruling. So, following that, I contacted Dory Wigan, got a copy of the wetlands permit for the reconstruction and sent that out to everyone, so everyone should have gotten a copy of that. There was some questions related to what did the previous buildings look like, and I've sent out pictures related to that. I went over, looked at the structure that is being built, took some photos and sent those out. So the bottom line is, in, I believe, the flooding of 2007, one of the buildings closer to the water was damaged due to the flooding. And underneath these buildings is a sluiceway for the water that runs somewhat parallel to Lamprey Street, goes under Bay Road, and then goes under Mr. Pothier's property, and then comes into the river, comes into the Lamprey River. So these buildings were built over an old sluiceway, and the sluiceway was partially damaged in the flooding as well. So the older buildings have been removed, and reconstruction has been started and progressing, and then subsequently stopped. And my understanding is that, well, based on the wetlands permit says reconstruction in kind of 2 buildings. And at least from the images, it looks like the 2 buildings were relatively close together, and I had been informed that there was some sort of small breezeway between the 2 buildings or connecting the buildings. The structure that has been reconstructed is 1 building on approximately the same footprint. I think it's a little bit bigger, but approximately the same footprint. I think that's it for the information that has been sent out. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
I
So-
have a comment.
Yeah.
If you look at the permit here, it's for a permit description, replacing kind 2 existing barn buildings. And this is on the, I think the date approval 4/23/2008
Yes. On the actual
on the permit, yeah,
permit.
right.
Well, on the DES permit.
DES permit, right. And I guess the other thing in the same paragraph there, it's a substantial piling foundation with concrete foundation footings within the same footprint. And I guess one of the questions I'm having looking at, when the footings were poured, was there any type of soil survey done to make sure that the weight of this new building can actually withstand can the foundation, the footings actually withstand the weight of this building?
Yeah, I have no idea.
These are concerns. The other thing is, I believe there is a cease and desist order on this building. And I guess my concern, when I drive by there, in one of the garages there, which is over the sluiceway, there was a vehicle there. And I just seen that a little bit disturbing. That's something that hasn't been approved for people living yet, is that he has a vehicle in there. Those are my major concerns right there. And, it's just, those are my 2 major concerns, 2 existing buildings. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear,
And they also had the right to retain repair of 150 linear feet of non-tidal drainage way bank.
Yes.
And also stabilization of just over 2,000 feet of developed upland tidal buffer zone. So they had a little more than just replacement of the 2 structures. It appears by this, and from what I got off the DES website.
Yes, but as far as buildings go, it's the 2 structures.
Right. Is that? I mean, my question is that something that within our That seems like zoning,
I think-
code enforcement
Code
more so
enforcement
than.
officer, I would think.
I have a, oh, sorry.
I mean, impervious, the gap between the two buildings, so you have possibly a slight increase in impervious coverage due to not complying to the two separate structures, which might be something that we could comment on, I guess. But do you know exactly what they're looking for from us?
I do not.
It seemed like the DES person was suggesting that they would like a letter from the Conservation Commission in order to pursue further compliance with regards to the DES wetlands permit. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think that was accurate relative to the first communication. But subsequent to that, the town planner and the code enforcement officer have sent a letter to DES.
Okay, so they don't necessarily need one from the Conservation
So,
Commission?
yeah, there's already one letter.
Okay.
And they just needed that to start the process?
I believe that is correct.
Because I guess my feeling is that, you know, to replace in kind, has been permitted, and that would be fine. Clearly, it's in the floodplain, and it has sustained damage from floods. So it wouldn't seem to make much sense for the zoning board or us to support increasing the footprint or increasing any sort of structure there that could then, again, be damaged in the floods and take away from any flood storage that could otherwise happen in that area. So I think anything related to replacing in kind is fine, but if they want to increase the footprint, like because you said just now that you thought it looks like it was just about the same area, but in your previous email, you suggested, I guess, that just by eyeballing it, it looked like it was, you know, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, if the code enforcement officer is pursuing it, that's fine, but I don't think it would hurt if the Conservation Commission seconded that to just with regards to the floodplain, flood storage and floodplain issues and impervious and that kind of thing.
I think he might have actually increased the flood storage because he increased the open space underneath the building.
Then
It's
that's
broadened
yeah,
out.
That's
Where it was just, the older pictures showed that it was just a narrow channel and wasn't open underneath the structure. It's like a narrow channel versus a wide open. I'm not saying it's stable and proper, but there is a larger void.
Greater
Improved it.
greater potential volume.
Because it was like,
But it seems like this, I don't know if this is, like, that's a question, right? Is this better to have a greater area where this may not be as well stabilized and could be washed out versus just the sluiceway, which was pretty well
Yeah,
stabilized?
well, that's what I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question, I guess.
Yeah.
as part of the-
The only other thing I'd have to say to what Dan said is that it's hard to tell as to whether or not, I mean, supposedly they had an architectural plan. So hopefully an architect designed the foundation, the footings, or they had an engineer involved, I would hope.
I just hope that they did. And my other concern is if you go down there, and we've had some pretty heavy ice flows in the past. And my main concern is another ice flow. I'm not an engineer, I didn't do an engineering study, but just my main concern is a huge ice flow is going to take that building down again. I'm sure we can go back and, or the code enforcer can go back and look at the prints and see what kind of engineering study was done.
Right.
You know, or a structural engineering study.
Right. And supposedly they did raise, I believe it was said that they raised the structure 3 feet. So they're, to get it out of, above the flood zone, so
Yeah,
there
that's right.
should have been
That's
an
right.
elevation certification done.
I want to say 5, actually.
Or, yeah, whatever they had to raise it, so there should have been, I would assume there was an elevation certification done at some point after that, or should be.
You would think.
So, I mean,
Pitches, Joe.
but I would think that building inspector, code enforcement officer, may have already looked into that, but.
Got some already done.
And that's to go with like what Jessica said, is if it is flooded again, and it is a garage, I mean, there can be other impacts, you know. You could have a car in there now, or something, you know.
I'm just saying, you know, with a car in there now, right now, if something happened, you know, whether it's an oil leak, fuel leak, or
Right.
anything like that, it's gone straight down into the sluiceway, right into the bay.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say about that area is people have been improving that area since the mid-1600s, so it's not a new impact of any
Unless
stretch, really.
unless it's new impervious area. That would be my
It's
concern. You know,
on the order of 100 square feet or something like that.
but, you know, we have to think of cumulative impacts too.
No, definitely,
Yeah.
I agree.
He improved the project, Bob, the building, but he raised it too high.
That's another issue altogether.
But that's,
right?
a lot of this is the zoning issues,
Yeah.
not us.
Yeah.
And DES is going to take care of the other issue anyway, so.
Are they turning this into a residence? Or is it still just storage?
So the
The-
Conservation
the
Commission must have
Z-
looked at this.
The ZBA,
Must be in the records, you mean?
the ZBA agenda, which is Monday, April 8th, says the applicant requests the special exceptions and variances to permit the expansion and raising of an accessory building, which is a non-conforming structure, 5 feet to prevent flooding from high tides and rising water levels.
I guess, I'll just make one more comment, I guess. I guess I would say that they were probably issued a building permit in 2008.
At some point, they were issued a building permit, yep.
Right, and
Wow.
so I would say that if they have been found in violation of something that's specific more to the town than the state, then I would like to say, like the code enforcement officer to come to us and say, they're in violation of this, how do you feel to go about remedying it in a more ecological fashion, you know? Because we're advisory after all, and if they say, you know, they've created more impervious surface out there, what would you like to see as a remedy? You know, and it might be, rather than tearing the building down, maybe it's put in tree wells or something like that around the property, or do something like that, but without knowing specifically what they feel the violations are that pertain to us, it's hard to, for me anyway, to suggest anything.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, I think from a strict reading of the wetlands permit, the current structure appears to be one building rather than two buildings. So there's some sort of issue there. But then other things, from a conservation point of view, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot that we have to comment on.
Wait, sorry, when you're saying that, you're referring to what other sorts of issues? The height issue, or?
Yeah, the
Like I
height
said,
issue.
Is that the only other issue you see that's really, I mean, you're not referring to like increased impervious area or decreased flood storage in that case?
No.
Though, because those would be concerns for us if that were the case.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Not if they were issued a building permit for the structure they constructed.
Yeah, no, I agree. If
'Cause
it's
then
already
if,
been
you know,
permitted, like that's.
That's why it's hard to
this is
tell. Maybe they
fine.
weren't even
Yeah.
supposed
Right.
to do that.
Right.
Right.
I don't know. It says in kind, but we don't have the architectural plans, so we don't know what that means. That the building inspector
Right.
or DES took that to mean as in kind. It obviously appears the zoning board doesn't think that they did in kind. So maybe it's different than the plans by a lot, but it's hard.
It's hard to tell.
Maybe we could just be asked to be kept in the loop with the code enforcement process and the zoning board process, and if there are additional conservation questions that are raised,
Mm-hmm.
then we would have the opportunity to weigh in at that point, but at this point it seems too early in the process.
Sure. Okay. So I would say at this point, my intention is to, would be to attend the ZBA meeting and say that we don't, relative to conservation, we see, or, it seems apparent that the wetlands permit has been exceeded, but relative to the floodplain, other than some some additional impervious surface or increase in impervious surface, we're not sure that there's a substantial conservation-related impact associated with this structure.
Oh.
Is that a fair assessment? Fair
I think so.
consensus?
If they are in some violation in some way that you know of outside of the permit, please let us know. We'd be more
Sure.
than happy to suggest.
Yep.
Good point.
I think, right?
Okay.
Or at least have to go down there and look at it, probably. I mean, it's,
You get a very different feel when you're actually on the lot.
yeah, and I mean, it is private property, but we can stand on public property and view it? Is that how it is?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I mean, the where I took the photos from was the public access next to Bryant Rock.
Okay.
There's that sort of drive path area. I went onto there and looked at the building, took the photos that I took.
I don't remember that coming up before. I don't recall it. I don't recall.
It does say on the permit, on the wetlands permit,
Number 5.
yeah, number 5, the Newmarket Conservation Commission did not report. And the permit was issued April 23rd, 2008, and I believe it was applied for in 2007.
I know that there are a lot of applications,
here.
DES applications in the file cabinets
Maybe you
downstairs.
were, I guess I wasn't.
Yeah.
So it's
But I don't
possible there's one
remember that
there.
ever coming up
Yeah.
before the board.
I don't.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I should say is the DES permits are good for 5 years, and this one was issued on April 23rd, 2008. So I believe Mr. Pothier is going to have to apply for an extension or, do whatever the appropriate thing is, because
Wait.
he's not likely to be able to finish his structure between April 8th and April 23rd, which is when the wetlands permit would expire.
So I guess you could also request to make sure that proper stabilization's in place, that the silt fence is working properly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's there, if they're gonna keep them not improving the site for a long period of time, or whatever they're doing over there to make sure that they're still maintaining the integrity of whatever silt fencing they have currently in place.
It appeared that the old stone wall was changed
Definitely.
from the culvert or
Yes.
sluiceway, whatever you want to call it. Are they going to put it back to what it was?
I don't think so.
Doesn't look like it, but I mean, we don't know. We don't know what the plans were like.
Like I say, I've been on a commission for more than since before that, and I cannot remember that coming before the board.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that? Hearing none. Next up is Heron Point potential encroachment. So I sent out, I received an electronic version of a letter and plan, which I sent out to all the commission members, I want to say yesterday maybe. So here's the bottom line. When the Heron Point Estates were created, the mobile home park in that area, one of the lots, the last, if you turn in the road there, the last lot on the right, just prior to the last home on the right is the gravel driveway that goes back down to the Heron Point parking area and the trails for Heron Point. That last home, the gravel driveway is on the lot that belongs to that homeowner, and that homeowner, a portion of their home is on the Heron Point property. So the current owners of that property are trying to sell it to the Homeowners Association Cooperative, and because the home is not within its lot, there's an issue there that needs to be cleaned up before the property can be sold. What the Conservation Commission is being asked is, would we be amenable to, in essence, a land swap where the strip of land or some area of land that includes the existing gravel driveway would be transferred to the Heron Point property, and an equivalent portion of land on the other side of that lot would be transferred to the homeowner or homeowners association, such that that home would then be entirely on the lot, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
So it'd be
Jeff has a nice drawing
So it'd be a
there.
simple lot line adjustment. basically.
In an ideal world, yes.
It should be.
What is the current situation? Does the town have a right-of-way over that person's lot currently? Is that for our access road?
I don't know, Jeff.
I don't know either. I don't believe they do.
So
But I
it's
don't
just
know
kind
for
of
sure.
over their land?
I thought we looked into this recently.
We looked to see if we had access,
Oh.
and I came up with a list of documents and looked at it, and it appeared we did have access, but that didn't mean that our access was necessarily in the same position as the road going into the land. Or legal access. It was more of the, I think the question was, did we have access to the loop road?
Yeah.
To get to the property, and which we did.
Oh, I see.
Which I came to the opinion that we did, but I'm not a lawyer, I guess, so, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me personally, I would be all in favor of this land swap. It seems like a simple thing to clean things up. The homeowner doesn't have to move their home. We don't have to move the gravel driveway. You know, all of that seems logical and reasonable to me. I guess my only concern is if there is already legal conservation on the Heron Point property, how much more complicated does that make it?
Yes.
Oh, you mean just when we do swap it legally? Is that what you're saying?
Would it make it such
be
that we
allowed to,
couldn't
yeah.
swap it?
I don't know that. It's a good question. But I don't
Yeah.
think-
And I don't know the
I-
answer.
I would say that I believe the land is town-owned, not necessarily a
conservation.
conservation easement.
Huh?
So if they own the property, then it's still a good question, but I would say that I believe it's owned in fee by the town and not an easement. Because it was
Okay.
multiple lots. It was a bunch of lots, actually, that were through there. They were kind of, there was a proposed subdivision through there.
Yes.
So it was a bunch of lots turned into one, basically, now that's Heron Point.
Okay.
I believe way back when they bought the property, the town was supposed to have this issue cleared up.
Yes.
And so way back in some records, they either forgot to do it, because obviously they came across this, or they did forget to do it.
In 1997, Doucette Survey prepared a plan, I
Yeah.
believe, for the town to facilitate the process, and it was never
Never acted on.
acted on.
So, I guess my question is, so we've received this letter. I'm assuming we should get back in touch and express an opinion. So is the commission generally amenable to a land swap, assuming that it's possible?
I'm not comfortable here. Do we need some legal counsel on this from the town?
Well,
I'm just not comfortable with the whole thing.
No, I agree. My question is, one, if there is legal, is there a legal conservation documentation associated with that property? If there is, then things are much more complicated. If there isn't, then I think it's more a question of, do we make, in essence, lot line adjustments? Because that's in essence what it would be.
I would think that we could pass this on, like Drew asked, if people would be willing to entertain the idea, right?
Yes.
And then say we are or not, and if we are, then I would think that we would pass this on to the town council, the town attorney, and say, we're interested in pursuing this, is it possible?
I think it's a good idea. I would support that.
Okay.
Jeff, you made that as a motion?
I mean, our gravel drive is not where it's supposed to be either, so it remedies
It isn't.
Right.
our own
No.
issue as well, so.
So maybe as part of that,
All
we
parties
could have
benefit.
that cleared up and say,
Yeah, that's-
yes, this is what we'll do if this happens.
Well, that's,
I think we would own
the
that.
gravel
The town would
drive
own
would
that
be
at that
owned.
point.
Right. Right now, the gravel drive is on this lot, which it
Yeah.
shouldn't, I think it was supposed to be out here. Because this part is where the access is.
Right, and when it was family-owned, it wasn't a big deal, but now that it's being sold.
Right.
Yeah, it should have been remedied back then. in
Right,
1996.
Sure.
I know it put off the sale of the park, which I'm not part of anymore.
Yeah.
So, boy, it'd be nice if it could just make it a simple little thing.
I agree.
Get it done for everybody, for us to get a clear title to the roadway, so there won't be any question later on.
I think we'd still have to go through planning, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I assume so.
Boundary line
Because it would be a
adjustment.
boundary line
Essentially a
adjustment.
subdivision.
Yeah.
At no cost to the town.
Okay, so I will get back in touch with, we should vote on that motion, I assume. So we have a motion,
Have a second?
and we have a second, and the motion relates to the commission supporting a potential land swap and asking the town administrator and legal counsel to pursue and get back to us on the capabilities of doing that. So, any further discussion of that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you. That takes care of that one. I think that was the last one. Hold on a sec. So I had two more items that were not on the agenda but have come up subsequent to that. One was we received information about a 4-H program that I sent out to everyone. As far as I'm concerned, I just wanted to mention that I had sent everything out. If anyone knows anyone who is interested or, whatever, forward that information on, I would say.
Is that the camp, or is that different?
Yeah, that was the camp one.
I thought there was a question in there whether or not we wanted to sponsor a student. Is that, I don't know, is that what we're talking about? Whether or not we want to sponsor or?
That was a suggestion from the person sending out the information.
Okay. Did it say anything about money or how much a sponsorship would
It's
cost?
like 500 a week.
It was like
I think.
between 250
yeah.
and 500, I think. It was like, there was a few different programs. It wasn't just, there was like a list of them.
Mhm.
Yep.
I don't have
But at this point, I got enough on my plate. I am not interested in trying to take on anything else.
I think the commission has some good initiatives to support environmental education within the town already that are good
Yeah,
for now.
I think we
agree.
have 2 things going on already. I think that's enough
Yep.
at this point. Okay, the other one that's not on the agenda but really should have been is that we received an application for usage of Shanda Park waterfront for the April 7th Great Bay Half Marathon. And so, yeah, the request is from Loco Sports and Arlen Chaffee to use the Shanda Park as part of the post-race celebration festivities on April 7th. I know Loco has used the park in the past for post-race celebrations and parties, and they've been good stewards.
As far as I know, we've had no problems, and I would support that.
Okay. Any other comments?
Is that true? Is that a motion?
So,
I'll second that.
what needs to happen is we need to have a motion that says that we're in favor of this. If the motion gets voted in support, then I'll sign all these guys and we'll be done with it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the use for the local association to use the Shanda Park for April 7th for their rainbow race
Yep, and the Great Bay Half Marathon.
and Great Bay Half Marathon.
I'll second that.
And that was for April 7th, you said?
April
Make sure we have
7th.
the date.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, unanimous. As a person who runs this event, I can tell you that it is wonderful to have that park and that space available, and very nice to have the finish in downtown.
You like it better than the high school parking lot? What?
I do like it much better than the high school parking lot, as nice as the high school parking lot is.
What's the timing on April 7th? It begins at...
Good question. I think it begins at 10. I think the
Really?
race starts at 10,
Really? Wow.
something like that. But traffic will be messy well before that and well after.
And the restaurants will be crowded.
Yes, and the restaurants will be crowded. There will be lots of people with tired legs and looking for places to park. Okay, excellent, thank you. The other one is we received information on the Saving Special Places 2013 conference that's coming up at the John Stark Regional High School. I believe I sent that out to everyone as an email. In the past, if anyone has wanted to attend this, there is a registration fee, but the Conservation Commission has paid the registration fee. So they have a number of different people presenting information on different areas. So for example, real estate law, they have 3 different speakers. Land trust management, landowner relations, conservation planning, dollars for conservation, managing conservation lands, wildlife, special conservation topics. So it looks like an interesting program. And it is on a Saturday. So if anyone is interested in looking again, please let me know and we can figure it out from there. 2 more things that we've received in the mail. One is the annual report from the Rockingham County Conservation District. So it's just an annual report. I haven't really read through it yet. Anyone who would like to is welcome to take it and read through it. The other one is we've received from the Coastal Conservation Association of New Hampshire their January 2013 information, which talks about their conservation efforts in the area. So again, anyone who's interested in reading it is welcome to borrow it and read. And that's all I have for the chairman's report. Next up is the old and new business. First thing there is the Health of the Great Bay Estuary Forum, which was held on February 19th. And I would like to second what Dan said earlier, that I thought the forum was quite good. It was very well attended. What did we guess? 45 approximately folks came out.
Wow.
And there were some good questions and interesting information. And I'd like to say thanks to Ellen Snyder for helping organize it, and thanks to Jessica for working with Ellen to make it all happen. And a hearty thanks to the 4 presenters who came out and shared information and were made themselves available. I thought that was a very good event, and hopefully a good first step in helping educate about nitrogen in the bay, and ideally we can kind of keep that rolling and find ways to help reduce the nitrogen input to the bay, particularly beyond what we're doing with the wastewater treatment plant, since that is a major, the wastewater treatment plant are somewhere on the order of 30% of the contribution of the nitrogen to the bay. So there's still a whole lot out there that hopefully we can make people aware of and help reduce.
I watched that on TV, and I was really enjoyed the man who talked all about the oyster reefs and how it was constructed. Yeah. That was interesting, because that was always something I didn't understand that well, so it was very enjoyable to watch and educational.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the questions were about the oysters as well.
Yeah. Well, and I also liked, that was Ray Koniski. I also liked, he had a very positive perspective, and I thought that was very good, because a lot of the other information, unfortunately, was, that nitrogen loading, we're decreasing the grass, we're seeing reductions in oysters, blah, 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 and his perspective was a little more positive of, hey, look, we can do things to make this better. So I thought that was excellent. Okay, anything else on the forum? All right. Conservation Commission scholarship.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yeah.
Should we draft a letter of thanks to Ellen for helping us put that together? What?
If you would like to, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
So has someone applied yet for it?
I don't know. I just wanted to confirm that.
It's in the works.
Oh, good.
Okay, excellent.
Maybe I'll do it to everyone that was involved. Single letter, that's umbrella.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Card. Yeah, the scholarship's in its works.
Okay.
Should have it out by Wednesday.
Okay, great. And then we'll get them back.
Well, what
Probably
I
in
usually
May,
do is
right?
we go through the calendar, and we set a date for a return.
Yeah.
So that we can check it out before the meeting.
Right. So it's still a little ways off.
Yeah, it is.
That's the bottom line. Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Invasive species management. 2 years ago, we did some work out at the Wigan Farm, and despite a good hard day of work, there's still lots and lots of invasive species out there. And as I've said before, I'd like to see us, try and continue to move forward on this. And last year we didn't do anything, so this year I have Wigan Farm and Follett's Brook written down, and it seems with spring coming, hopefully the ground will be soft. It would be a good time to try and pull invasive species out of the ground and kill them off, or stack them up before they go to seed, before the seeds can get spread. So, with that in mind,
How about a work day and
yeah, are we?
end of April, 1st of May, something like
Well, I was hoping for April sometime, early April.
Early April is better. The ground will be softer.
Yeah, ground should be softer. And we can get the weed wrenches again from down in Greenland there, or Stratham, I guess officially, from the Discovery Center. They have a bunch of weed wrenches that make pulling out invasives substantially easier. So let's see if we can schedule a day or two.
What about the 6th?
I would, for myself, I would like to see the 6th or the 20th,
Okay,
if that works for anybody.
sure.
Or both. The last time we
Let's-
did it, we invited the Boy Scouts to help,
Yep,
and that seemed to bring some young, able bodies.
yep, yeah.
Right, Fred?
Good idea. Yeah.
From the last one.
Well, yeah,
Time
it's
before that,
2
maybe,
times
yeah.
ago, yeah. Well, yeah, let's say Saturday, April 6th.
So we have a really cold March.
And the ground is
Sure.
And the
frozen.
ground's still frozen. The frost is down, it's down a few inches now. Like
Is
this far.
You've been out in the field, right?
Yeah, I saw some up in Dover yesterday, like that far down, there was frost. But
sorry, what'd
that
you
could be
say?
gone in a week, you know?
Oh,
who knows?
what-
I was saying there was some frost about that far below the
Oh,
surface.
wow.
This is 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think
bet.
it'll probably,
It's been melting like crazy the last couple of
unless
days.
it's really
yeah.
cold for
The
March.
next
Big
few
freeze
days is supposed to be really cold, but spring's only 5 days away. Come on.
Let's hope March
we have
isn't that
snowstorms.
cold.
in
Right,
April,
let's be
though.
positive. Yeah, it never stays long, though.
That's true.
And the time for that would be?
Location.
Time and location, yep.
Time and
Maybe, did we
location.
say like 9 to 12?
We did 9
or-
to 12
Yeah,
last
it was a
time.
good amount of time. Not much longer would be
Would be
ideal.
possible.
It would be
right,
possible, yeah.
Right.
Well, do we want
Let's-
to do the Wigan Farm?
Yeah, let's say Wigan Farm, 9 to 12.
1 to 12, Wigan Farm.
Does anyone have any contacts with the Boy Scouts or any links to them?
Yes, Jim Bergeron. So yes, how about if I send an email to Jim Bergeron?
Will you arrange for the
And I'll,
wrenches as well?
yeah, I'll
whatever
try and
they're
arrange
called?
for the weed wrenches, yeah. And if I need help on the pickup of those, I'll get in touch.
See if you need help, give me a ring.
Okay. Sounds good, Fred.
If we
Thank
do
you.
have the Boy Scouts, if we have people if we have a number of people, it really helped to have them labeled last year or whenever we did
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So
mark
I don't
them,
know
yeah,
if that's
flag them
possible
up.
again, but
We can go out beforehand
we
and
could,
find
we
out.
could all arrange to go out beforehand
Yeah.
or.
I'll go out there again, yeah, without a doubt.
But it probably, we may not need that if we have a smaller group, so.
Right.
Yeah, I
don't
know I
if we can
flagged.
wait.
I mean,
yeah.
it was biodegradable flagging, it's kind of gone now, but I marked some of those trees that were not invasive, that were right next to invasives with non-biodegradable flagging, which is still there in some cases. Yeah, but I did mark way more than we could have ever done.
Yeah, and I would almost say, maybe we just have, just point stuff out or just flag it that day.
As you go.
And,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
kind of
fine.
flag as we go and pull and, yeah, because sometimes you can make really good progress and other times not so much.
Yeah.
And
If we have an arrow going to focus to them,
Right.
not flag some broad
Right.
area.
And we're not supposed to transport the plants because they are invasives. So again, I think we'll drag them out in the field and establish a burn pile, and next winter, when we get enough snow cover, we can have another burn.
That's a good idea.
And in the meantime,
While we're
be wildlife habitat.
being broadcast over, we can invite
Anyone
from
else who's
town
interested, yes,
If they want to come out and help,
yes.
a work day.
Wigan Farm, 9 o'clock, April 6th.
You could ask the school, because sometimes the Honor Society would do these
That's a good,
Projects?
Yep.
within the community. I know they used to, and it may get some extra bodies.
Yep.
They
Yeah,
can make
no, I
that.
have a
Sometimes-
contact there too.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a
Good.
good point.
Wear boots because it's wetland area?
Boots are highly recommended.
Mucka boots.
And decent work gloves too. Some of those invasives can be a little prickly.
Just a little bit.
Some can be really prickly.
Those
Do you
thistle
think that we
things?
should just focus
Oh,
on
I
the
hate
Wigan,
those.
or should we do another one for Follett? Should we arrange that now? Should we hold off? What's the thought on that?
Try one
I
at a
would,
time.
I would say let's see how it goes on April 6th, and we'll schedule accordingly from there.
Okay.
How's that? Yeah, and let me say a little bit about Follett. It's close to me, so I have a personal interest. But it's also an area where the town sort of widened an older woods access road a few years ago and drilled some test wells out in that area. And it's the classic example of disturbance creating a perfect vector for the invasives to invade. Because if you go in there, on both sides of this road that we put in, there are invasives, right there, right on the edge of the road. And that's really the only place they are, for the most part. So it seems like if we could beat them back a little bit and beat them back, they won't hopefully spread beyond where they already are. But it is kind of the classic example of disturbance of the soils creating an open space, an open opportunity, and, birds dropping the seeds or whatever, seeds blown on the wind, they get in there, boom, they outcompete everything that's around them.
I took a walk down that way last week, and where they had an old dry well there at once upon a time, and there was a platform going out to it. Well, that platform is still there, and I think it's kind of blocking the water flow right now. You could pull that out of there or something. Get rid of the debris
Yeah.
that was left over from that.
Is that that well is not used at all? They don't need that anymore?
No, they tore that down, but there's
Yeah.
debris from it still,
So, yeah,
That's a good suggestion.
there's some stuff still in the water there.
yeah.
Probably want to do that when it's frozen out,
Well,
so you don't disturb much, but.
I don't know. I think it'd be hard to get out. I suspect the
think so.
reason it's still there is
Yeah.
because
It's like-
We could
Because
go,
it
if we
couldn't
do
be
an
removed.
invasive plant day, we could check it
We
out.
can look at it, right,
Bring some
yeah.
waders and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good suggestion,
take a
Bob.
look at it.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
What time did you say? 9?
9 o'clock on April 6th, yeah.
Tow it out.
Yeah, that's true. Go like a winch.
Okay, and then the last item is the action item list.
Sweet.
And I did not bring a copy with me. So I'm hoping,
The action item list.
you want to read it for us?
That's over there already.
Killing me. We're sick of hearing my voice. So, first one is get feedback from the school about possibility to create nitrogen-related education field trips and what classes might be appropriate. That's me, and I have not done that yet. I still need to send out that email. Mark the easement boundary at New Roots Farm. Yeah, that hasn't been done either, and we need to figure out how and when to do that. The when is the hard part, because it's, if it's spring, it's too wet. If it's summer, it's pretty buggy. If it's fall, there's hunters. And in the winter, it's hard to locate the monuments.
This is just marking the boundary?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just marking the boundary.
Like rough marking it to hang tags.
Yeah. Well, hang tag,
Yeah.
locate and hang the little conservation easement boundary signs on it. Continue invasive species removal, hey. Review the amended application in Concord to see if Follett's Brook is a prime wetland.
That has not been done yet. I did just before the meeting sent out what I believe are the final plans of the prime wetlands for people to look at again, and try to make more headway on getting the answer for Follett's Brook.
Okay, great.
And the other question is if we want to have those. People should review them, I guess, and then get back to me one last time to make sure everyone's happy with them. I did that thing where I suggested maybe we get rid of map 6 because there was nothing on it. So get rid of map 6 and change some of the color around to make it easier to see, like with the black with the borders around the maps and the map numbers to make them stand out more and grade back some other stuff. And I think they look good to me. But then do we want to have them printed, Dan, at Stratford County Conservation, so that they would print them for free, but that would be many months out possibly. Their printer broke and they don't currently have funds to replace it, and so they're kind of using copy places around town and paying to have things done. So that's where that's at currently.
And Drew and Jeff, I did mention to the planning board the work that you did on the wetlands and showing the buffer zone on
Yeah.
it now, and heavily appreciate your work.
Good.
And so they're looking forward to the planning board's looking forward to the final
Versions.
map.
Yeah,
So
and
I want to let you know that your work I brought it to their attention.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if everybody's happy with those, we can circulate the PDFs and send them to Diane. And Diane said I was in there the other day, and she's definitely interested in having a full-size set available in the planning
I
department.
got a question. Did you include the swamp area or the wetlands that's bordered by Elm Street, Packers Falls Road, and if you come down,
Beach Street Extension.
Beach Street Extension, that swampy area in there?
So
I
the
mean,
swampy
that's a
area
prime
behind,
swamp.
between Beach Street Extension and Packers Falls Road,
Yeah.
I believe that is included in the prime wetland designation. It's not that I created it; they were designated years back, and
Yeah.
there's a study done and everything.
Sure.
I do believe that's included. You can actually, actually, you know what?
When we had floods the last couple of times, that river, the Lamprey River, the back part of it overflows and that swamp was like a lake.
Yeah,
There's a lot of water.
that is a prime wetland through there.
Yeah.
In that, it's pretty large in between the 3 roads there, or 4 roads, I should say, between Elm Street, Beach Street Extension, Packers Falls, and 152.
So what impact would this have?
Well, it's been this way
Yeah.
since 2004, or 2004, I believe, when it was passed. So, but there haven't been, these maps haven't been really readily available to the public at all. Like, I bet a lot of these landowners don't realize that there's a prime wetland in their backyard. And they know there's a large wetland, but they might not realize that there are special protections to prime wetlands as opposed to, hydric A or hydric B wetland. So it's an extra level of protection that people might not realize is there. And this is kind of towards the hopes that the information's there now. Hopefully they'll put it on the town website. People will see it and realize.
You know what would be a good idea? I'm looking right at you, Jeff. Maybe, not now, but maybe like in 3-4 months, or even down the road, even if it's further than that, maybe a little workshop with a presentation up here that we have, that people can view over and over
Right.
on Channel 13, because you're saying that a lot of homeowners may not recognize it, and then they can take it from there. But I mean, a lot of people may not just go to the town website to look at the map first.
Yeah, definitely
But if you
not.
do like an educational training workshop on it,
Right.
like the oysters, on the wetlands, that may be beneficial to a lot of people in the community.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely.
That's
a good
interesting.
And I don't mean to next week either.
No, and
I'm
I-
talking months down the road when people have time.
I think it could be a part of a broader thing that we do that's more informative. General wetlands, prime wetlands, vernal pools, all that sort of stuff that people may not realize the value of. Definitely.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was it on that side.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Next one is develop a process for identifying when land has changed from current use for tax purposes, and that has not been done. Finish the connector trail at Piscassic River, Loisel. Somewhat related to that, Brett Bergeron, who has been working on the trail that will be on the Audubon property, He contacted me recently to say that, things are thawing out and he's getting ready to get that project going again, so that will help increase the priority on that last one there.
I would definitely like to wait till it's definitely drier,
Yeah.
just to minimize our impact on the relatively low area that we're going across.
Yeah, exactly. Amend the Wigan Farm management plan to move the mowing till after September 15th. Pretty sure that one,
Been done
yeah, no progress there yet. And then get in contact with the snow rollers to discuss mutual interests, including removing a bridge at Wigan Farm. And nothing has happened there yet, but the snow rollers are interested.
Did you have a contact with him?
Yes, I do.
I was just wondering if you want me to call. Maybe we could invite them over April 6th and get that
Oh,
done.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't know the pond will be frozen.
Call me with the number, I can do that.
Sure.
Do we have another access to that side? Because the pond might not be crossable at that time.
You can get to it.
I know you can get to it across, there's like an old stone bridge almost, but that's like through some pretty thick alder and whatnot. I don't know if there's landowners on the other side there too, I don't know.
If you go straight in from the drive, the parking area,
Yeah,
you know,
Walk
what
way
spot
around
is
in
that
there.
little indent, and then you can walk in that way.
okay.
That little stone bridge that can get kind of tough to cross.
That's really tough to, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
If the water's
like
low, it's good, but otherwise.
Right now, it'd be really tough.
I was thinking as a most direct route to not have to haul that all the way through the woods out to the parking lot, that's all I was thinking.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
It's a long ways through the woods.
Yes.
Unless they cut it up, even then it's so tough.
Yeah, or break it up, whatever.
Would have been nice if they could have done it during the winter with snow there. They could have sleds to
Well, yeah, and
tow it out.
and maybe it's a two-stage process where we get it to somewhere where we can leave it and then tow it out next winter when there is snow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Make a-
Move it far, we don't necessarily have to get it all the way out in one shot. Move it somewhere that it's kind of out of sight but more accessible, and then get it out of there when there's snow on the ground.
Just to make it easier for them and us, I think we can get a hold of the Public Works and get permission to put it in one of the dumpsters at the transfer station without
Sure.
being charged.
Yeah, I mean, we can throw it on the burn pile.
A lot of it's pressure treated lumber.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Are utility poles in there? Or is it all lumber?
lumber.
That's lumber. I'll ask.
Yeah, if it's not, we could burn whatever's not pressure treated, I suppose, but the pressure treated lumber should be put in a transfer station.
Yeah.
So just to clarify for the action item list, is this, we're inviting them to help with the invasive removal, or we're inviting them to come out and
Kind of help,
do
ask them to
things
come out and
while we're
take care of
there,
their
or-
bridge, really.
Really, just the removal of the bridge
Okay.
while we're already there.
Okay.
And if they'd like to help out with invasives, we would welcome them.
I have one other thing that I did. You know,
Sure.
last meeting we discussed, or I might have brought up the fact that we were talking about interest in scholarship and whatnot, and I had mentioned sometimes college students teach in local schools just here and there through programs they have at the universities, and it's just as a thought on how to drum up interest in natural sciences and whatnot. So I did try to contact some people at UNH about it, so whether or not they had that sort of program there. And I got feedback from one person who put me in contact with another person that said that they definitely have programs like that, and they have occasionally worked with Newmarket in the past, and that they're interested in hearing any ideas on that topic. And I called, he had a time he wanted me to call him, and I called and didn't get a hold of him, and he hasn't gotten back to me, so we're continuing to try to touch base about that. just to see what the process is for them to actually get involved with the school and what they would do. And does it take someone from the community to go to the school and say, hey, these people have this program at UNH, or, just trying to see how it all works. So kind of seeing if there's anything will happen at that end, to those ends. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or input or anything they'd like me to, when I actually do get a chance to have a conversation with this fellow. I don't know if I would assume at this point it would probably be for next fall, would be my guess. It might be a little late in the year to set up some sort of a program, or if there's anyone specific at the school, anyone knows that, if they're like, who should we contact, or...
How about somebody to go to, I don't know if they still have career days at the school.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
they
thinking,
definitely
too.
have
I was thinking the
career
same thing.
Maybe put up a conservation kiosk at the career day.
Yeah. But this
Thought put out there.
This is actually like the program my wife was involved in. She actually went to the school once a week and actually went in with a science project, and the whole class with her did a project for an hour or two, and then she'd come back next week with a different project on a different type of topic.
Like an
all natural
enrichment
science.
program.
Yeah, kind of.
I wasn't here, so I'm trying to
It was
put
all
pieces
funded.
together.
It was funded through the National Science Foundation, so it was no cost to the school, I believe. And they don't have the exact same program at UNH. It doesn't sound like, but they have something similar. Maybe not as in depth. Like I said, I just have had emails, not an actual conversation yet. So.
The principals would be a good start to say what you would like to try to do, and they could put you into touch with
Yeah.
the proper people within the school system.
Okay. Because my first thought was, does the program exist? Is UNH interested? And if the program is there and the people are there and they're looking for schools to go to, then approach the school and
Then you contact the
and see
school.
if-
Yep. Great. Anyone have anything else under old or new business?
Composters and rain barrels?
Yes.
We did sell one rain barrel today, so I think the season is starting again for the
Excellent.
rainy season. We have, I'm going to guess, about 6, maybe 8 composters left. We have lots of rain barrels left. I'd say we have 22 pallets. Probably that'd be about maybe 40 rain barrels. So there are plenty of those. And just for the record, we sell those at cost. It's $40 for the composter, $60 for the rain barrels. And I've seen the exact same sort of thing on a retail basis that's been marked up 40 to 50%, which you'd expect. And you can go to any one of these local home and garden places and find them for that price. So people can't beat the price. And we've done this in the past, and I think we should probably do this again. Advertise through Channel 13 as one means. And I'm open to suggestion as to other vehicles by which you think we might be able to advertise to try and spread the word on these composters and rain barrels.
Does the town of Durham Conservation Commission offer them?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I will ask the question.
'Cause if they don't, maybe then they might say something at their meeting.
Right.
That's a good point. I'll bring that up.
Because it's not like for profit, and they'll steal our business or something, So I think they would be after the same thing we are.
Yeah.
Same interests.
No, that's a real good suggestion, because, I mean, that's a town that would be receptive to that sort of thing,
Right.
Well, I need to buy one from us, Fred. I have an older one, but it's old enough that it cracked. It's probably 12 years old at this point.
Oh, I'm relieved to hear how old.
So it doesn't, yeah, it's at least that, could be more. And it was different. It was a
one of the
food
first-
grade, no, it was a food grade barrel one. It was
Oh,
a food
okay.
grade barrel that I put a
recall those.
spigot
Yeah, I
on top and
recall those.
bottom.
Yeah.
And it's cracked. So I need to get one. But
Okay.
we find it very helpful. We collect the rainwater off of our roof, and then we have one of those soaker hoses, sort of slow, sort of black, sort of foamy ones.
Mhm.
We just run that through our garden,
Mm-hmm.
and we just, connect it up to that.
Yep.
Let the we'll let the rain fill up the barrel, wait a day or two, open up the spigot, slowly drains out into the flower gardens, close it up again, wait for the next rainfall. Does a great job of infiltrating that rainwater back into the ground and keeping us from having to use water that, we're paying for to spray on the ground, and then we're paying for the wastewater fee on that water as well. So it's a nice way to avoid both of those costs.
I might add that if someone had a need for capacity that's larger than 50 gallons or so, these can be hooked up in
You can
tandem.
daisy chain them.
So that you can go multiples of 50 if you had, larger demand.
Yep.
There's no risk of mosquito larvae?
There's screening.
Yeah, they're screened to keep.
Yeah, it's
keep them on top.
mosquito-proof.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Yep, it's all screened, self-contained.
Yep.
Yep.
Good point, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
that's a
glad
good
you brought
question.
that up.
Yep.
You could advertise once or twice in the town newsletter as well, I suppose.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred.
Welcome.
Anything else?
No, but she had a good point. I don't know when the newsletter goes out, but if you put in the newsletter about
The
needing
April
help for
6th.
April 6th date,
Yeah.
that may help.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Because not everyone may watch our meetings and,
Yep.
or have Channel 13, but,
Right.
well, if they don't have a computer, they're not going to get the newsletter, right? Because it's all electronic, isn't it?
That's before next week.
Well, it's worth a try.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, to purchase one of those rain barrels, go to the, right to the,
It's okay,
to the
though,
town clerk,
A lot of options.
and that's where you can purchase them, right over the counter, right? At the
No,
town
contact
clerk.
Fred
Oh,
Yep.
for the rain
They have
barrels.
The contact number is 659-3296. Alternatively, and I hate to say this, is Castle, because she's got more than enough to do, but 659-3296 will do it.
Excellent. Okay, anything else under old or new business? Hearing none, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll second that motion.
Didn't take him long.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.